Hello dear students, welcome back to the video lectures of CK Coaching. Today in this part of our video we are going to start our new chapter which is Human Eye and the Colourful World. So आज इस चैप्टर में हम कुछ बेसिक कंसेप्ट देखेंगे इस चैप्टर का इस वीडियो में एंड ऑल्सो कुछ इंटरेस्टिंग फैक्ट्स देखेंगे अबाउट द ह्यूमन आई एज पर द करिकुलम. सो लेट्स जस्ट स्टार्ट द पार्ट. सो बेसिकली इस चैप्टर में है क्या, ह्यूमन बॉडी एंड इन्वेंशंस ऑफ द साइंस किस तरीके से रिलेटेड है. इफ़ यू कैन जस्ट को रिलेट दिस देन यू विल अंडरस्टैंड द कंसेप्ट ऑफ दिस चैप्टर वेल. जैसे कि हमने जब अपने हाथ को देखा देन वी डिस्कवर द हैमर, हमने जब अपने लेग्स को देखा तो वी डिस्कवर द व्हील, अपने ब्रेन को ऑब्जर्व करा तो हमने बनाया कंप्यूटर एंड सिमिलरली व्हेन वी ऑब्जर्व द ह्यूमन आई वी कुड डिस्कवर द कैमरा. सो इट्स ऑल अबाउट द ह्यूमन आई. सो विल स्टार्ट विद दिस लेक्चर the structure of the human eye. So this is a basic figure of a human eye and अगर आप NCERT को पढ़ो ध्यान से तो diameter of a human eye is about 2.4 centimeter. ये डेटा हमें अपने MCQ के लिए याद रखना है. This part over here is called the cornea. What is this? The part which is bulging out is the cornea. So it is a thin membrane which is transparent and which is bulging out. बाहर उभरा हुआ जो होता है, this portion is known as the cornea. So what is the importance of this part here is the maximum amount of refraction of the light takes place through the cornea. So imagine that these are parallel beams of light which are coming inside the eye, and through this the maximum amount of refraction or basically the bending of light will take place here. This part over here is iris, and if you can just see we are talking about this part here, iris. So iris is behind the cornea and it's a dark fleshy screen. Okay, for a time being हमको बस इतना याद रखना. This part over here is pupil. So if you can see we are talking about this part here, the black spot is called the pupil. So basically pupil is opening or basically it's governing the change in diameter of the center of the iris. Now let's just understand one more thing about the function of the iris. That first thing is that it regulates the amount of light entering the eye. क्योंकि iris के बारे में हमें एग्जामिनेशन में काफ़ी पूछा जाता है that what is the function of an iris. So it has a dual function, दो functions है. First one is to regulate the amount of light which is entering the eye. Second one it will also impart the color of an eye. So let's see कि how does it regulate the amount of light which will enter the eye. In the bright light the pupil will contract so that it can protect the retina from the maximum amount of light or any damage. So in case of a dark or a dim light the pupil will widen so that the maximum amount of light can enter in our eye. So this tendency of the pupil is called the adaptation or power of accommodation. हम उसको over the period of time अभी देखेंगे. And this is the second part which gives the color to the human eye basically. अब ये जो color combinations होगा इसको हम heredity and revolution में पढ़ेंगे. That is a separate part for the genetics. So different color of eyes because of the different color of the iris as per the physics point of view or as per this chapter we'll keep it. Coming back to the human eye structure, over here we have an eye lens. What is this? This is a transparent double convex lens. याद रखना है MCQ के लिए. This is a convex lens, right? So this part over here is the retina, which is a light sensitive screen over which the images will be formed after refraction. So this is how we'll define it, that what is retina? It is a light sensitive screen made up of light sensitive cells. इसके बारे में अभी हम देखेंगे कि what are the different cells present. So what are the two different kinds of light sensitive cells? Lower classes में पढ़ा है. These are nothing but the rods and the cones. So basically rods are responsible for adjusting our eye to the different intensity of the light, and the cones are responsible for perception of color कि कौन से color का है. Coming back here, now we can see that this part over here is a optic nerve. ऑप्टिक नर्व का काम होता है इलेक्ट्रिकल सिग्नल को ब्रेन्स में भेजना, जो भी इमेज बनी है उसकी, सो दैट द ब्रेन कैन इंटरप्रेट एंड कैन टेल अस द रिजल्ट ऑफ व्हाट इज द इमेज सो फॉर्म्ड. This one over here is aqueous humor. This one is vitreous humor. So aqueous humor is basically the liquid or a jelly substance which is present, and this part over here is not empty but it is filled with vitreous humor. This part is the blind spot. Now understand this. What is this blind spot? It is the area where no light sensitive cells are present. That means no rods and cones are present, and due to which no vision is possible at this spot. So any amount of light which is falling on this part of of our retina will not form any image because no signals will be transferred to the brain. This part is the ciliary muscles. Now ciliary muscles का एक function होता है that it changes the thickness of the eye lens while focusing, so it can adjust the focal length of the eye lens. इसके बारे में भी हमें देखना है. This one here is the muscles and this one the other parts here. So for the basic understanding, we'll just now see what we have learned, or what is the key point which we have to keep in mind for our examination point of view. So there are the 7 parts here जिस ह्यूमन आई का है, जिसमें से फंक्शंस हमें एटलीस्ट एक फंक्शंस याद रखना है. द फर्स्ट वन इज़ बेसिकली द प्यूपिल एंड आई हैव केप्ट इट इन द मैच द फॉलोइंग पार्ट हियर. प्यूपिल का काम होता है टू रेगुलेट द अमाउंट ऑफ लाइट विच कैन एंटर द आई. Second one is the optic nerve, which will carry the information to the brain. Then we have a cornea which bulges out and has a maximum and is responsible for the maximum refraction of the light. Then we have a cons which conveys the colors of the light to the brain. Then we have iris which will impart color to the human eye. Then we have eye lens which will converge the maximum light which enters, and so that it can form a real and inverted image. The reason being ये convex lens है. Then the rod which conveys the degree of brightness to the brain, like how bright the light is. After that, let's see and understand what is this power of accommodation. So basically it is the capacity of a lens to change its focal length as per the need. Like far off object, if you are observing, then let's see how and understand that how does the eye lenses will get adjusted. So these are the 2 parallel rays of light which are coming from infinity, let's say, and when we are looking at a far off object, then this is how the ciliary muscles will adjust itself कुछ इस तरीके से, so that the lens can become thin. So adjustment हमें याद रखना है when we see the far off object, like the object which are at infinity, then the lens of the eye will become flat and this focal length will increase. So with the increase in the focal length, it can accommodate the light which are coming from infinity, so that the images are formed exactly at the retina. Similarly, this is how the case will look like for a nearby object. So when we are seeing the nearby object, so ये muscles जो है थोड़ा inward push या force लगाएंगे, and this is how it widens up. तो lens थोड़ा सा चौड़ा हो गया, wide हो गया, and so that the exact image will be formed in the retina. So we can see that while we are seeing the nearby object, the lens becomes more rounded and the focal length decreases. So the point to keep in mind is that when we see a far off object, the eye lenses will the focal length will increase, and the focal length will increase, and when we see the nearby object, the focal length will decrease. Now this ability is known as the power of accommodation, and also keep in mind that the minimum distance of an object for a normal eye at which we can see it clearly without any stress on the eye is called minimum distance of distinct vision, or called the least distance of distinct vision. So for a normal human eye, the near point or the least distance of a distinct vision is 25 centimeter. Now just keep in mind that these are the data which are theoretically asked repeatedly in the CBSE examination. Now let's just understand the second part of this chapter, which is the defect in the human eye. So there are 2 major eye defects which we will be discussing here, but before that let's see the working of a normal human eye. So this is a normal human eye, and if the light rays are coming parallel to this, then this is how it should look or get converged, so that the images are formed exactly at the retina. So images formed at the retina, that's a normal case. But when there is a defect, eye defect, like the myopia, which is the nearsightedness, or hypermetropia or farsightedness, तो images या तो retina से पहले बनता है या फिर retina के बाद बनता है. So let's just understand the first one here, which is myopia or nearsightedness. Let's see that if you are observing a far off object and there is a nearby object, for a myopic eye the far off object will look something like this blur image, and the nearby object is very much clear. So इसीलिए इसको nearsightedness बोलते हैं, because we can see the nearby object clearly, but we have a problem in understanding or having a visual images of the far off object. So let's say this is a picture here, and this is how the normal human eye should make a picture on the retina. But the defective eye, this is a defect which is because of the elongation of the eyeball. हमें इसको देखना है, we'll see about this. So once the eye lens get elongated something like this, तो जो images हैं वो कुछ ऐसे बनेगा, यानी before the retina the images will be formed. yani intersection of the light rays in case of a myopia happens before the retina. That is one point which we have to bear in mind. So how do we correct this problem? So for this correction we will be using a diverging or a concave lens of a suitable focal length so that we have a exact power. So ये करेगा क्या, थोड़ा सा पहले इसको divert करेगा so that there is a shift of the point at which the light rays are merging. So इसके correction से हमें image कुछ यहाँ पे मिलने वाला है. So point to be noted that the near object is clear, far off object is unclear in case of a myopic eye. Far point कुछ ऐसा दिखेगा हमको, and ये डिफेक्ट बेसिकली होता है हमारे पास दो रीजन की वजह से. फर्स्ट वन इज द इलोंगेशन ऑफ द आई बॉल, सेकेंड वन इज द एक्सेसिव कर्वेचर ऑफ द कॉर्निया एंड द आई लेंस. Myopic eye will look like this. There is a blur image of the far off object, and for correction we'll be using a concave lens of a suitable power or a focal length, and this is how the correction will look like. NCERT में इसके बारे में हमको 3 images दिए हैं, 3 डायग्राम दिए हैं, उस डायग्राम को हमें देखना है. For a time being I have kept it in the form of a picture or a diagram. So power of a lens which is used for correction of a myopic eye is negative in nature. Reason being it is a concave lens. Now let's just understand about the hypermetropia, which is also known as the farsightedness. Farsightedness के केस में कुछ ऐसा होगा, नियर बाई ऑब्जेक्ट एंड फार ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट, और एक हाइपरमेट्रोपिक आई को कुछ ऐसा दिखेगा. यानी फार ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट कैन बी सीन क्लियरली, बट द प्रॉब्लम इज टू गेट अ वेरी क्लियर विजुअल ऑफ द नियर बाई ऑब्जेक्ट. So normal human eye will look like this. This is the nearby object. It can be seen like this. But for a defective eye, the nearby object will be blurred. Reason being the images are formed, or basically the intersection will take place behind the retina. So this is because of image forming behind the retina. For the correction, we will be using a converging lens, which is a convex lens, and this is how the image will be formed after the correction. So far off object is clear, nearby object is unclear in case of hypermetropia, which is called farsightedness, because far off object is clear. Near point कैसा दिखेगा? Something like this. And the ray of light from the nearby object arrive at the eye lens, get converged at the point behind the retina. So this defect is because of eyeball getting flattened, and second one is curvature of the cornea and the eye lens decreases. So this is how the hypermetropic eye will form an image. तो इसके केस में भी blur होगा, reason being the image should form exactly at the retina, but here it is not forming at the retina, it is behind the retina. So correction के लिए we will be using a convex lens. So this is how the convex lens will correct the defect, and this is how the lens and the ray diagram will look like. So इसके ray diagram को भी हमें practice करना है, and the key point is that the power of the lens which is used for the correction of hypermetropia is positive in nature, reason being it is a convex lens. So in this part of a video I am stopping till this hypermetropia. In the next lecture I'll cover the other part. Till then, goodbye, take care, keep on revising, and if you have liked this video, do make sure that you share with your friends and also subscribe my channel. Thank you so much for watching this video.